Hello, and welcome back to If Not For This podcast, where we dive into all of the choices and unexpected moments that shape who we are. Today, we are with my friend, Summer Butler of the Blended Book Company. Summer is an author, counselor, speaker, and coach that has helped countless others to brave and navigate one of the most challenging situations a family can find itself in my opinion, and speaking from experience, which is blending a family. Summer is kind, loving, funny, and most importantly, whole. And you guys know that I love to surround my people with folks like that. I could not wait for y'all to meet her today. And I hope that y'all stick around for the end of the show because she actually has some new and exciting news to share with us. Everyone, this is Summer.
Hi. Hi, Jess.
Hello. How are
I
you?
am so good. And I feel like I have literally two questions. So
Okay.
we can,
I love it.
well, the
I
first,
love having a fellow podcast host on the show because everyone's like waiting, and I'm like, no, you ask the question
okay,
now.
but do you brush your teeth to do a podcast?
I have to brush my teeth to live
I
life.
know. I was like,
I
I was in there brushing my teeth and I'm like, wait, I'm not actually
mhm.
like meeting her face to face. Do people do this? Do podcasters brush their teeth before they record? I don't know. I'm asking.
I I wonder. I wouldn't feel right. I would be like, I would think that we would press record, and you would go, "Did she brush her teeth?"
Same. Okay. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
I was
No.
thinking that. I was like, I have
Mm-mm.
to ask her, but I'm going to wait till we're recording because maybe other people wonder this.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, and my children, one of them is the youngest is 13, and I still have to say, "Go
Oh,
brush your teeth." And the other day I was like, "Do you not know in class that everyone you know what I mean?
sure.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine." Yeah, I can't imagine, not to put him on blast like that, but I just am like, I wonder why my biggest fear of someone thinking you didn't brush your teeth is not
Well,
everyone's, is what I mean.
100%. And it's like we've told you for 13 years. At what point are
Yeah,
you going to pick? I guess when the girls start coming into play, that's when they start. That's when my older two, I guess, started to care for
yeah.
themselves. But
Yeah. Luckily, he just runs and does it. He doesn't put up a fight or anything, and he doesn't try to lie,
okay.
and I'm thankful for that I'm just like, I can't really stand much until and what was the
Okay, well,
second
so the
one?
second one, I was listening to your podcast like I always do, love it. And
Yes,
the
thank you, love.
intro, every single time, I'm like, "Oh, that is me." So we connect with this, and it is,
Are the
"Are
same.
you mad at me?" Because that is like my
Mhm.
my disposition always. Like if something
Mhm.
doesn't go as I maybe expect or like how I would
Yeah.
respond, then my
Uh-huh.
immediate reaction is, "Are you mad at me?" Is that what you mean by that,
Well,
or are we processing
no,
that differently?
it's the same way. Because I think we're very similar. We'll tell y'all the lore of us in a minute, but we are very created very similarly. My curse, I think, is that I can hear the moment in our tough discussion that you inhale a little differently.
Mm,
Like you just now took in a little less air than you did the previous 10 times. Was that about what I just said?
mm,
Like I am so tuned in to the muscles in your hand, the air in your nose. I am so to how you tilt your head. Did you go up at the end of the word? And, for to have it be every moment of my 45 years and watch my husband have no moments, no
right,
moments of his 55 years wonder why someone tilted their head. I'm like, "What is that like?
right.
I don't understand what that's
Yeah.
like."
Yeah. I
And
so get it. In fact,
mhm,
I'm gonna pull this up and read it because I posted this
okay,
today and I feel like it speaks
let's hear
into
it.
that. It's not my
Mhm.
original thought, but it says the potential you see in other people isn't real. It is the
I saw that.
projection of what you would do in their position. Mel Rob.
Yep, Mel Robbins put that. Yep,
I was like,
yep.
That is so spot on." Like, it is the projection of how I would respond, not like
Mhm.
I like, when I send a text, I I always respond right away, right? Well, not everybody's like that. I used to take
Mhm.
that super
Yeah,
personal, especially in our step-family
sure,
dynamics. I was like, "Okay, well, I sent a text, like,
sure.
it's respectful to send one back." Well, that's just not how
Yeah,
everybody that's not what everybody
no.
believes, so it's my protection,
Feelings are not facts. Yeah.
100%. So, anyways, okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
I would just wanna
We
connect with you on that because I every time I hear that intro, I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, I feel
I love
seen."
it. We have a newer guy on our crew, and I told Jay the other day, he being newer, and I said, "I don't think he likes me very much." And he goes, "He doesn't know you to know if he likes you or not." And I was like, "Do you think that's a real sentence?
Yeah.
Like, have I ever been like, you used reason? You used reason to decide if someone likes you or me? Like, the reason doesn't go into the
Right.
equation."
We don't wanna hear
It's
the mature we don't wanna hear your emotional maturity, Jay. Keep it to yourself.
Thanks a lot, Jay, but that's not really applicable to the situation at hand, but thanks for trying.
Exactly. Well, that's another thing we have in common. I think Jay and Andy, they're both 55, so
Yeah.
both older. Yeah,
Okay.
Andy's 55.
Uh-huh.
And every time I hear you guys, it's like and not to say you're emotionally immature, Jesse, I'm calling myself out, but I just think, like,
You're not emotionally immature. You can try to say that, but you're not. Go
well,
ahead.
I feel like Andy tends to level me out. Like, I just sit a
Yes.
little
Steady hand.
below on the maturity scale, and I'm not that I'm
Yeah.
saying that's for you guys too, but Jay reminds me a lot of Andy. Just, like, even kill,
Yeah.
easygoing, hardworking,
Yeah.
happy disposition,
Yeah.
and we're just the
Well,
emotional
and
mess.
bringing it back to that Mel Robbins, or no, it might be Glennon
Okay.
Doyle. She says, "Do I care too much, or are you just not paying attention?"
Mm.
And I resonate with that so much because I don't find reason in his reasoning because I'm like, no one thinks like that. No one thinks. No one's that healthy and whole and, and like normal.
But isn't
Yeah,
that the goal? So, I mean, we had talked about just, like, if not for what?
yeah. If not for this,
If not for this, that like, continue that if not for this
it
that
well,
happened, what?
do you know one of my favorite, sayings that kind of developed the title of our podcast is, "If I wasn't there, I couldn't be here."
Mm,
And, you and I have used that sentence a lot in our days to, get through our history
yeah,
and make sense of our history. And why does our history have to look like this? Why couldn't it have just been normal, as they would say, normal?
yeah,
But if not for this podcast was a way to just kind of flex the muscle of looking at life. My friend Ashley, anytime anything tough was happening, she'd say, "Let's celebrate," because nothing can happen in the comfy. Only the good growth and the good change can happen in the real painful, tough moments. But for some reason, we still look at those painful, tough moments as bad or negative or oh no. And it's like, oh yes, like giddy up, like wait till the next
right,
part. And even though it's like, even though it's still stuck in that cycle, like this is bad, and that must mean the next thing is bad. It's like, no, that's not what's happening. And you have to look at it with a different, like Bob Goff says, take a three-quarter turn and look at it again. And so if not for this podcast, is is those moments that you think are game enders but are game changers, and blessings. And so maybe you missed a flight, and met your best friend, or you went through a painful breakup, but it caused you to step into a life that you'd always wanted to step into. And so on this show, I always invite you guys to just come on. And if you want to share one of those, or talk about it a little or talk about it a lot, I just do think it's important for us to hear each other's stories.
yeah, I love that. Uh,
Have one of those?
I do, I mean, I have a lot because I think life
Yeah.
hasn't been easy.
Yeah. Right.
I where my mind goes when you say that, like, if not for this,
Hmm.
like, what was the hardest time, in my in my life? Well, there's several. My
Yeah.
parents got divorced when I was 13. I feel like at that point, I very much became an adult, like a young adult at
Mhm.
13, you know?
Uh-huh.
Um, I took the responsibility of the glue, like, it was my job to hold everything together between the 2 homes, inside the 2 homes, between, the emotional connections of the parents, just all the things, like, kind of fell I perceived that they fell on my plate, and that was
Yeah.
tough, I feel like in doing that I'm gonna keep going back to this analogy because God keeps bringing it to my heart, but, like, in doing that, it
Love it.
compacted the soil of my soul,
Mhm.
and when I say that to mean for many, many, many years, I had such a hard shell, like a hard exterior, right? Like
Mhm.
my soul was just compacted with trauma and
Mhm.
experiences that I didn't necessarily cause, but that impacted me. And
Mhm.
I lived inside of those instead of in spite of those. And it
Mhm.
took marrying my husband now to drop me to my knees in a way that I think that probably like, he was the greatest thing that ever happened to me and
Mhm.
the hardest I don't know if mirror is the right like, it really threw a mirror up in my face, like, "Hey, you've gotta work through
Mhm.
a whole
Sure.
bunch of stuff." Like, this man genuinely loves you. This man genuinely wants to take care of you. This man is loving and trustworthy and kind and caring, and
Mhm.
I don't know what to do with any of that because I don't believe it, right? And why don't I believe
Mhm.
it? It's because 'cause I've got 40 years of compacted soil that I've used to
Mhm.
protect myself. And
Right.
so the biggest blessing in my life ended up being the greatest opportunity for growth, and like you
Mhm.
said, it wasn't without the tilling of that soil, uh,
Right.
that I started to recognize, kind of my place in it, like, where do I need to grow? What do
Mhm.
I need to let go of? How do I and if you
Mhm.
think about, like, I'm using the soil analogy, like, what fertilizes soil? I mean, you know this, you guys are big old farmer, it's
Mhm.
fertilizer. Well, what's fertilizer made out of,
Mhm.
Jess? I mean, it's made out of literal shit. Okay.
Literal shit.
So,
Mhm.
the only way to fertilize your soil, to fertilize your soul, is to use the shit you've
Mhm.
been given in life,
That nice.
mix it in,
That'll preach.
and just uproot what is not meant to be there, right? Like, what along the
Mhm.
years has been planted in that soil that isn't
Mhm.
the truth about who I am? So,
Right.
meeting him having a step family, I often say this, step families require the greatest need for spiritual growth on the planet, I think. Like,
Mhm.
they are the in your face, you've gotta get some spiritual growth and get healthy in all facets,
Mhm.
which I know you've kind of been focused
Right.
on, like, we're talking body, mind, spirit, right? Like, step families are just a reflection of what is it's sitting
Mhm.
in each of those that's not healthy. Um
Right. It'll show
Oh,
up.
it'll show up really, really quick
Mhm.
and without
Right.
any type of like, I didn't even know that the stuff was sitting below the surface that was.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
if not for my marriage, like, if to use that
Mhm.
analogy, if not for my marriage, I
Mhm.
would never be as healthy, and I'm gonna use that term loosely,
Mhm.
uh, as I am today. And I think along the path of sanctification, where we just have to dig in with what is true and what is right. And my husband, in many ways, brought the step family dynamics, which caused so much anguish and pain in so many facets of my life. But I would never be on this side of it helping others if I hadn't gone through
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
2 things. The opening line of your bio, I'm gonna butcher it, so you're gonna have to help me, but it says, "I never knew that the something along the lines of, I never knew the broken heart that I experienced at
It
13
was meant to help
would
heal yours.
heal yours." And I resonate with that so much. That's one of the finest opening lines I've ever seen in a bio. It causes me to realize even more that we're so
I
similar.
know.
Um, I always say, once I got out of the pit, I just ran for rope and I'm going to come back and I'm going to get you out of there too. And that's the love language of this podcast. Second, we always talk about Andy and Jay being so similar. I did a show on this a few back, if not for my
Mm,
divorce. The divorce is what caused it's is something that has allowed me to place the most shame on
mm,
myself because I was taught you get divorced, you go to hell. Thanks, mom. And so, so all of these almost 10 years later, dealing with that shame and growing through that shame. And like you said a minute ago, getting alone and asking God, is this what I think about myself true?
right.
Is this true about me? He said, heck no. And we talk about Andy and Jay being so similar. They're kind of immovable objects. They're not going to really be yes men. They're not going to really inflate us while we're losing our shit. They're going to be the steady hand. And in my marriage, the only reason I will be able to step into who I wanted to always be, the desires of my heart, the person that I always wanted to be, is only because Jay is there to painfully chip away at all the nasty things about myself that I hate.
Yeah.
And he does it
Yeah.
lovingly, and he does it looking ready for the finest rodeo you've ever been to. He does it under such a guise that I never even put it together till recent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I resonate with what you're saying so much that even in those moments where you just wish they were different, God's like, they're that way
Yeah.
for a very specific
Well,
reason,
they're
and
our
you are
sharpening
welcome.
tool, like, I think
Yeah,
what's the
yeah,
scripture? Iron sharpens iron, right? But we have to
yeah,
let it, and so that's where for many, many
yeah.
years.
No, I don't want that. I don't
Exactly,
want
and I was taught growing
that.
up, like, after my parents' divorce, my mom was a single mom, she raised 4 kids. I was taught
Uh-huh.
very specifically that you do not rely on anybody else, that you are an independent
Yeah,
woman, that you can always there's always needs to be a way out, and those weren't spoken words as much as they were understood, right, because of our
yeah.
circumstance, but the ways that I learned to cope as a child with parentification and becoming well, and just trauma from the marriage and the divorce, becoming an adult at a very young age, the ways I learned to cope with that were hyper independence, perfectionism, performance, all the ways that work in the world, all
Mm.
the ways that made
Yeah,
me successful in a career, in college and soccer and a career, like all the things that
yeah,
I needed to do to prove myself, right?
right.
But much like you just said, like even did divorce define you? Absolutely not. God doesn't say that. Does my work define me? My perfectionism, no, those were coping mechanisms to harmful feelings
Mhm,
that I never processed. Like I never had a place to process them. And so what looked like success in a world with my career and all that, when I left that behind and married Andy, stayed home with he has 2 sons from a previous marriage, stayed home with the boys, um, I I lost a lot of my false identity, mind you. It was a false identity that I was
mhm,
walking in, but I
mhm.
lost a lot of that, and I tried to regain it, right, through PTO and football and all the
Yeah,
things at the school,
sure.
but it's when I lost that too, and when I realized that sure, I maybe knew how to be a good stepmom because I had so many of them and I knew what I didn't want, right? Like, I knew how to walk that role well,
Mhm.
but I
Aw,
did not know how to be a good wife. I didn't know.
right.
I never had that dynamic in my home, not that my mom wasn't a good wife, it's just I didn't have like a nuclear family to fall back on,
Mhm,
to look at. I didn't know how to
mhm.
be open and caring, like I said, all those things that were so compact in my soil, like, I knew how to be
Sure.
independent and a perfectionist and perform, and I could take care of all that the house could be in order and, everything could be perfectly in line, but that didn't create connection. That actually created a disconnect because I wasn't walking
Sure,
out my true identity of who Christ called me to be, if that makes sense,
sure.
So,
It does.
um yeah, again, like, if not for my marriage and the downfall, like, we really had a downfall. We had to go through some marriage counseling, and not that that is
Mhm.
only for downfalls. Like, don't hear me say that. Also do that if you're healthy. But we went through a ministry called Reengage and then counseling. And even through that, to me, that was like tilling the soil. That was like getting
Yeah.
in there, getting kind of mixing up mixing up those false beliefs, mixing up those old coping mechanisms that didn't work in my marriage anymore. I couldn't understand it. Like, this had worked. I had been successful my whole life, or so I thought. But the
Sure.
definition of success in a marriage looks very different than the definition of success in a world. And we're not meant to live out
Right.
this world. So, I really had
Mhm.
to unpack what that looked like along the path of, growing my own spiritual journey. I hadn't really walked with the Lord for many, 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 many years after my parents' divorce. And that's a whole nother, you know, 4-hour
Sure. Well,
conversation. But
you know, while you're talking, I'm thinking of stats on second marriage, and my boxing coach she used to say, if it were easy, everyone could do it. And the things that you're talking about are, second marriages, like 67% end in
yeah,
divorce. And Summer and I know
yeah.
why. We know why they do. We've experienced why they do. And thinking on the things I attribute our saving grace was our ministry, our podcast. I don't think that without moving on again, Jay and I pouring our heart into mics every week, me hearing sentences I would have never heard him
Mm.
say because they were conversations, God speaking through us, whether we were meeting about the show or talking into mics. And so, your counseling, our podcast, there's no way that Jay and I would be here because of how incredibly, like, however difficult you hear these blended families are, it, just multiply it. There is a challenge around every corner and they force you. Do you remember those skit guys where he pretended to kind of like chisel off of him? Do you
Yes.
remember they had it makes me think of
Yeah.
that. I feel like that was the first 7 years and I'm still going
Yeah.
through it with certain
Yeah.
things. But I think of that as with our blended family, there are so many unpleasant things that are sink or swim. Either find your big girl britches and grow some maturity, or throw your little tantrum and lose a few rungs in the perspective from your stepchildren.
100%.
You'll want to win their favor. You want to lean in towards them. And so, uh, just like you're saying, if not for the divorce and this blended family, um, how in the world do people even get to a different version of themselves? Because I feel like we've been to war.
And as you're saying that, I'm thinking, this statement, like, if there's external conflict, the conflict is internal.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I project a
Oh,
whole
yeah.
bunch because I'm like, well, you have to be doing this, and it's never even occurred to Jay. It's what I'm
Right.
thinking,
And so
you
it's
know.
like, okay,
Mhm.
if um I'll take a turn here a little bit to play on that. Like, what is the condition of your own personal soil? Because if you're not keeping
Yeah.
that in check, right? And when I say soil, I mean your soul. And when I say soul, I mean, like, okay, every human is born with a human spirit.
Yeah.
Which in correlation, I think for like the farming world, that's the seed. The seed has the DNA of anything that's going to be born out of it, right? Like, we are born with our
Mhm.
DNA, and so that's like our seed is our spirit, and then our soul is our mind, our thoughts, our personality, our preferences, and then our body is like the five senses: taste,
Mhm.
touch, see, hear. So when I'm talking about the soil, what's covering the seed, what's covering the human spirit. And for those of us that have faith and believe in Christ, like, the Holy Spirit comes in and takes over our human spirit. But what can grow out of a seed if the soil is
Mhm.
poor? Like, if I still had that
Mhm.
compact soil, if I still have it now at 47, and the bitterness and anger and rage and jealousy and lack of
Yeah.
forgiveness and all the things that tend to show up, right, in our soil when we step into step families. if all those things are there, there is no place for the Holy Spirit to take over and grow good fruits in our life. So when I
Right.
say, like, if the conflict is, like, if what you're experiencing on the outside is not what you really want, right? The only thing we can do is ask ourselves, like, okay, what is the condition of my soil? And what am I bringing to this relationship that is
Mhm.
either watering weeds, right? Or growing good fruit. And the good fruits are things that I don't do well, like patience, kindness, goodness,
Mhm.
self-control,
Mhm.
all the things that are really freaking hard when we have all
Mhm.
these complex layers, or like this environment of a step family that we don't have control over, all of these things.
Well, I'll tell you something even neater because I love jargon. I love jargon of different cultures and occupations. And with farming, the jargon has been so fun to learn. And you're going to love this because if Jay is talking about the soil, he will say, you can plant it all day long, but if the soil's not good, you're going to have lower
I
yield.
love it.
That's what he's gonna say, not
I
right?
love that.
And I know, I knew that you would. I was like, "You're gonna die when you find out how they address this
Yeah.
situation, is lower yields and higher yields." And so I think
It's so
but of
true.
course we know that our God is for farmers. We're all in scripture, and, so it only makes sense,
Absolutely.
but I was like, after Summer bites on the term yield for the next 24 hours, I can't wait to hear what he
That's so
comes up
good.
with.
It's so good.
I
I
know.
watched this
Uh,
little documentary, maybe you saw it, I don't know. It's on Netflix called The Littlest Big Farm. Have you seen it?
I
Oh my
haven't.
gosh, it's so precious. So it's like this young, sweet little couple that bought, I don't know, acres and acres and acres and acres, and had this dream of, homesteading, and got in there and thought they knew what to do, but the condition of the soil on the entire plantation was just trash. So after I don't know how long, but after a certain amount of time of just yielding no fruit, no crop, no product,
Mhm,
no nothing, like nothing could live on this land, they hired basically somebody to come in and do a soil assessment and condition the soil,
mhm,
which took years. And now they just have this sweet little farm with all these animals and crops and
mhm.
whatever. And they actually do homestead, and it's just a sweet story. But that's where like that for years. I watched,
It
yes,
resonated with
that, like, it
you.
all comes down to the condition of the soil. And then that had played
Sure.
into so much scripture for me. Like
Love
when
that.
I just dig into scripture, then God shows me, like, oh, okay, well, the parable in Matthew about the sower and the
Yeah.
seed, and, just little things. And so that, if not for the hard times in my marriage, then I wouldn't
Mhm,
be able to even ask myself or others, which is what I
mhm,
do, "Hey, what is the condition of your soil?" Let's start there,
mhm.
because in reality,
Right,
it's the only thing we can do is condition our own
right.
souls, and then, work that into, like, if one person in the relationship changes, the relationship changes.
Mhm, right. Well, and that goes back to something you and I were talking about yesterday is I call it filling my cup, but you would call it, tendier soil, and so I told y'all we were going to talk about the Lord in a minute, but Summer's heart is always for others, always. And she does a wonderful job of trying to help others fill their cup, tend to their soil. But my question for Summer is first, what are your ways to fill your cup and tend your soil? And two, can we steal them?
Well, of course you can steal them. I'm
Right,
not real good
writing them
at
down.
them.
Let's hear it.
Well, I was actually listening to your previous podcast yesterday just about, like, why we work out and why the
Mm-hmm,
body gets the mind healthy, And I
mm-hmm,
know I texted you about it too, because I'm like, let's talk about that too. Like, I love that if we think about, like, the body, soul, spirit, right? Like, you're really using this platform. You're educated
mm-hmm,
most in the body part, right? And then if we're pulling in people that have the mind aspect, so, emotions, all that. Anyways, um, I struggle most with the body aspect in a lot of ways.
okay,
So, part of the coping mechanism from childhood trauma was eating disorder. And so I
okay.
struggle with, and that's all rooted in control. So, um, you would think because of that, I would like be an avid worker outer, but I just can't get the motivation. And some of this is like, okay, health wise, body wise, postmenopause too. L-
Uh-huh.
Long-winded question or long-winded answer to your question.
No, I'm here for it.
Filling my cup, I think I found this cute little new workout studio by where I live.
Really?
And it has been a source of connection, even though I don't really know anybody there, right? Like just showing up and doing an hour-long class. They do like little barbell classes or Pilates. They've got a Pilates part in the back, and they do bar. So I love all three of those things. And I
Uh,
stopped doing it for a while, like before the move. I always find excuses, right? Like in it. So
okay.
I either have an excuse or a lack of motivation. And then I just like sit in that.
That's our rebellious spirit. We're kind of
Yeah.
hippies.
And I just
We
feel
need
stuck sometimes where then I'm like,
cigarette and cigarette, cigarette.
it looks like you
I
have
did
one.
this.
Oh, no, don't
I
do
know.
that.
I know. I did this and I was like, no, that's
No,
not
not that
right.
one.
Go back to your studio
Yeah.
real quick because my dream is to build our home, our forever
Yeah.
home, and I want some wood floors and some mirror walls and a bar that goes around. I love a
Well, but
studio.
here's
Is
the
it like
thing.
that?
I love all that too. So it's in this you would never guess. Like so I just kind of Googled
Okay.
and here's one of the things. I know that we didn't really talk about this, but we just moved and we moved 2 hours from where I previously lived. So while that's not like a
Yeah,
state away, it's far enough away that my
far
whole
enough.
life has changed. My whole life.
Yeah,
And we also are like a little further out from reality of, like I'm 30 minutes to anywhere. So,
yeah, I can tell by your reception.
oh good.
You keep freezing, and I'm like, oh, a fellow country
Good. Yeah.
podcaster.
Um
Yeah.
So I had to come to grips with like, hey, if I go work out, it's not 5 minutes across the street. It's 25 minutes to get there. It's an hour-long class. It's 25 minutes to get home.
An endeavor.
It's a commitment, like everything
Mhm, it
here is
is.
a commitment. And so I pull up to this like tiny little studio. It's in like the strip mall. So it's in Alito, or I think it's in Willow Park, which is outside of Alito for
Okay,
anybody that's local
okay.
to Dallas Fort Worth. And my immediate reaction was a hard no,
Yeah.
just hard no. And,
I understand.
I walked in and it just like I'm gonna have to take a picture and send it to you so you can
Okay.
post it in the show
Yeah,
notes.
send it to us.
It's
Okay.
precious. It's called Studio 369. The back room is like all, graffiti walls with the
Aw,
Pilates, um, what are they called? Benches? Reformer.
reformers?
Yeah.
Okay,
Um And it's just like our vibe, Jess. It's like our vibe. And here's the
good.
thing,
Austin.
that's the back, and then the front is, they have bars, like, for bar class, but also, like, all the weights and equipment, but there's no mirrors, and let me tell you why I love that.
Is that good?
I don't sit and obsess or compare,
Mhm.
or it takes it away. And so that's one of the things that I actually love. Like, there is a mirror, like, just like a propped up mirror or whatever, but if that's a trigger
Sure.
f like, I know for me that, that's gonna be a distraction, so I
Okay.
just stay away from it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
But
Yeah, now that you're saying that, the 2 gyms that I've come through since you and I were close, F45 doesn't have mirrors and CrossFit doesn't have
yeah,
mirrors. So we are getting away from that, but I'm just old enough to tell you that when I fell in love with the
yeah.
studio, this is what it looked like, and
Yeah,
so
I taught
yeah.
yoga many, many, many years ago, and that's a whole 'nother
Did
story, and
you?
that's yeah,
Yeah.
I loved a mirrored yoga room, I did, and,
Yay.
that just was kinda where I was trained and taught, but I see the value of not having it. So, where I fill my
Yeah.
cup
Yep.
today is at Studio 369. I feel like that is it's enough to get me out of the house and out of the stuck, right, and for long enough that I feel like I've done something for the day, and so that's
Mhm.
how I've been filling my cup, and then also so I kind of, like, go through the 3, like, okay, that's body, soul. I mean, it genuinely fills my cup helping others. I know that sounds crazy, and a lot of
Mhm.
people are like, "How do you
No.
stay? Like, how do you not how do you how can you do that?" But that I actually love doing that, so that helps fill
Yeah.
my cup, and then spiritually, we did find a new church recently, which that was another big, huge
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
I was worried about that, but
Yeah.
I joined a women's Bible study, and that started last week, and so that was a step out in, like, uh, getting uncomfortable, but that's how I'm spiritually growing as
Yeah.
well, so trying to
Yeah, I
all
get it.
3.
It's not always fun to be the new kid.
It's not, and I haven't for a long time, and here's the thing with that, it's like, it's a good reminder of how to treat others that, like, are
Yeah.
also
Yeah. Mhm.
maybe sitting alone or that are new. Like, I've not been the new kid, and being the new kid in a small town's it's pretty different than being a new kid in a big town because
Mhm.
everybody's here, they
Yeah.
have their people that or they grew up here and,
Mhm.
we're the new people coming in ruining their town, which I get it. I'm like, nobody
Yeah,
else can come here but us. We don't wanna ruin
I
it,
know.
but
Well, and there's a new trend on TikTok that's like, so they don't know that I know ball, and it'll be like, well, I'll walk into a curly hair section with her hair straight. They don't know that I know ball, and she'll pivot to the next photo, and it'll be an afro of
yeah,
curls, and that's the new one. They don't know I know ball, and it can go for everything. And it reminds me while you're talking, I introduced Jay to a new couple the other day, and throughout the night, he explained to Jay how he replaced the engine on his lawnmower, almost teaching him. And I was just sitting there going, oh no. But Jay is so gracious. He would never say anything or even make a motion. But being the new kid leaves you filleted open to be spoken to like you don't know ball.
and
And you're sitting
vulnerable.
there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, and you're sitting there, part of you is wanting to mention the things that you've done, and part of you is like, "No, this is good for
yeah.
me. This is very good for me. I see you, God. I see what you're doing."
Yeah, yeah,
You
absolutely. And
Yeah,
sometimes,
I
like,
see your sense of humor.
like, people
Yeah,
not knowing, actually, sometimes it's kind of nice too. So
uh-huh, I think so. That's what I mean. I think this life is just about acquiring and gobbling up as many experiences as we can,
absolutely.
and you sound like you're getting a whole new set of, like, some really good ones.
Yeah, and, like, we kinda hit factory reset in a lot of ways, and one of the things that, we did this summer that I actually wished we would have done sooner, um, we I found this sweet little ministry online. I mean, they're not little, they're a bigger ministry called Beating 50%. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they have
Uh-huh,
this family planner and you can buy it like as a PDF download. But I did it and basically, and it just makes so much sense that I'm just like, why did I not think of this sooner? But basically, you create a family mission statement and then you map out 12 family values and you can place like one per month. So we did, whatever. In June, I think we did like spontaneity and adventure. And that's one of our family values. And we're
mhm,
going to use like our time wisely and work towards this mission that we have as the Butler family. But we incorporated
mhm,
all 3 boys, like, we allowed them to kinda speak into it, and what legacy do we wanna leave when people like
neat,
yeah, like, who do we want others to say we are when we're no longer in the room? And maybe that's when we're not
right,
even in the room because we've passed away, or maybe just not in the room because we've left the party early or whatever. Like, who do we
mhm,
want to be known as? And it was such a sweet,
mhm,
I mean, the older 2 are adults now, and Eli's 11. But it was sweet to hear them pour into, their take on like, "Hey, you know what? Integrity and honor and trust and trustworthiness." And, um, we value authenticity and realness. And then how can we take one a month and practice that for that month? Like how can we really honor and be mindful of who we are showing up as? And this new
mhm.
little town gives us the perfect opportunity to just kind of like factory reset. And here's where we're going to go with
Right.
that.
Reinvent
Yeah.
yourselves.
Be more
Yep,
intentional. So I love that.
I like that.
Yeah.
We just sent a couple of kids to, college, and so they are both going through the reinventing, themselves and the good that comes with it and the tough that comes with it. In fact, Lily's gonna be on the podcast
Oh, I
Thursday
love that.
to Yeah, it's my first time getting to have my adult child on, our show and not feel like a YouTube family that is going to need therapy later on in life. As soon as she became an adult, I'm like, you can come on the podcast now. Like, I was so
I love
excited.
it.
But yeah, that's what I was reminded of. It's just so tough
Oh,
because
yeah.
I come from I come from such a strict upbringing, strict Christian upbringing that I'm like, I can't watch her. Like, was I ever like that or similar? And all the kids are like, no. And I'm like, well, I feel
I
it.
right?
I feel something weird. I feel something weird happening. I don't know why. I just am like, because you're young and dumb and the way you were raised, you try to like
I
re-implement
know.
that and so I'm just like, did we do any of those things? Like, because we thought you were supposed to be tough enough to make your reaction make an
Mm,
impact. That's what we were
yeah.
raised to be with our children, to discipline them and be stern and make sure they
Yeah,
remember,
yeah.
to make the, and I know exactly why they were that way. But poor Lily, our firstborn, she got the brunt of that before we figured out that
That's
was not the
hilarious.
right way for us.
Well,
So Lily got a gosh,
you'll get to ask her about
I
it on
know.
Thursday. We'll see if she
Well,
opens up.
I tell I tell her all the time. I'm like, yeah, I'll hear her telling her siblings about something, making fun of me in front of me, and I'm like, I said I will pay for your therapy. And she said, "You do pay for my therapy." And I was like, "See,
Yeah,
I'm good.
see?
I'm really good.
I'm a
I
man of
already
my
did it."
word.
So, okay, let me take us
Yeah,
to one of my favorite things that I like to talk about on this podcast. And I do want you to share your news with us to close out the
okay.
show. So instead of closing out the show the way we normally do, I want to do that now. And that is, in what way did you feel connection this week? I'll share
Okay.
mine and you can share yours. What way did you feel connection this week that caught you off guard? My favorite thing about this is it kind of flexes these muscles of your mind, especially for me. It's my show. So when it's happening, I'm like, there's my moment, but I'm looking for the moment. And it's like that Tony Robbins thing where he's like, if I ask you to look for things in this room that are blue, you're going to be honing into the things in this room that are blue. It's what your focus is. It's what your stead is. Your what you're set on. And so that's where it kind of came for me, as like changing the
Mm,
focus instead of looking for what could be out to get us. What do we need to fix? It's what are the great things to be
yeah.
thankful for
Well, it
right
doesn't I
now?
think Lisa
And
Turker says, "You steer where you stare."
yes, that's a good one. I have a story about
So
that.
good.
Lisa Turkhurst, we went to Leanne Morgan on
Uh-huh.
Saturday. This is a little aside. We went to Leanne Morgan and the ladies behind me were talking about Uninvited. It's on my
No
nightstand.
way, it's so
And
good.
they said, no, I'm not kidding. And they go, it's written by, and she may be listening to the podcast right now. One of my listeners is named Leah Tursack. And so they go, it's written by, and I go, Leah Tursack. And they were like, "How do you know?" I'm like, "I'm reading it. It's on my nightstand." So I get home that night. Leah comments on one of my videos, and I go, "Oh, damn it, Leah, I told somebody that you wrote uninvited because my brain switched
With
Lisa
Leah. Oh,
Tercer
that's hilarious.
with Leah
Well,
Tersack.
that's okay.
Funny.
Yeah, it's fine.
So, anyways,
They'll
they'll still
figure it
read it.
out.
I'm sure they'll still
Yeah.
read it. My moment of connection. We lost unintentionally and unexpectedly and lovingly got pregnant at 41 and 51. It would have been Jay and I's only child. And my cat just heard that. And I'm really sorry. Like, I did not mean that. And we do share a very important cat with each other. But we lost a baby girl. Her name is Abigail, and I have her on my arm. And um that those of you listening, if you've walked through miscarriage, summer, if you have experience, a lot of times you feel like, I think sometimes because of what you're watching, I feel like the woman kind of takes the brunt of it in a way. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. I just know the guys kind of get back to work pretty
Mm.
quick. Get back to work proverbially. They just kind of process and go. And so, I have to tell you that to tell you this. We were at dinner, and a friend of ours said, "You've got some new ink." And I said, "Yeah, this is," and I'm interrupted by my beautiful husband. And he says, "That's our baby." And he said it so stern and so loving. And I almost needed to ask him to join me in the bathroom for just a moment. And I was like, "Damn, what is that?" Like, but see, Summer, if he would have been overly, verbal about Abigail from the first moment when he said, "That's our
Right.
baby," it wouldn't have meant what it's meant. And I will tell you, there's been probably 27 near arguments in the past 2 weeks that my mind has screamed, "'Member when he said, 'That's our baby,' and
Mm,
I'll just go." I just go on to I don't pick the fight with him, I just go. So it has just been I love that type
I
of stuff.
love
I love
that.
that type of
And you were like, I mean, you could have received that in 2 different ways, but you were looking for the good and it came, and you received
Oh,
it.
no, it was to interrupt me to tell them about our baby when I've never heard him say anything
Oh,
like that. He was so internal and personal with his grieving. And so it just was really beautiful. I loved it. And I have her right here. And I always wondered, would I like to have her here, or will I regret it?
sure.
Do I wish she was on my waist, or do I wish she was under my shirt? And I'll do my lotion on my face and have some left over, and it goes right on her face. And it has been my most favorite.
Mm,
Some friends of ours have lost a child, and they're like, "You love seeing it?" And I'm like, "I love seeing her." And so take with that what you
I
will,
love
but it
that.
provided such a wonderful moment this week. Please tell us
That is
of your
so, so
summer.
sweet. Mine is
Thanks.
so surface in comparison. I love that yours is so deep.
No, no,
No
no,
judgment.
no matter how big or small, I wanna hear.
So we went to, our 2nd Friday Night Lights game, right?
Okay.
And, we're in this tiny little town called Brock. So it's Friday Night Lights are what you do. That's what you do. And,
Yeah.
there's a reserved section for, what season ticket holders, and the wait list is years long to be one. So
Okay.
basically
Oh, good. Oh,
basically
good.
people, like, pass away and pass on their seats, like, that's just kinda how life happens
Sure.
here. So that's,
Yeah.
whatever. So we get there a little bit early, take our, like, fold-out chairs because the bleachers just suck, so we take our little cushy chairs and find a good spot, and we sit down, and this sweet little old couple comes stumbling up and sit right behind us and don't stop talking to us the entire time, and it was
Oh,
just a
love it.
sweet reminder that, like, pausing to appreciate our elders that just have so much history and wisdom. Like, we just asked questions and let them talk and made a connection, and we had new friends, right? And they didn't look like maybe
I love
what
it.
we thought, they would look like, but we know everything about their sweet little
Sure.
great-grandson on the field, and then
Right?
his mom, who looked to be our age, was, like, sitting right there too, but just, like, the generations that show up out here and that we connected with. It was
Love
just a
it.
sweet little moment, right? Like that, and then at the
Mhm.
same game, there's this, coffee trailer that I guess parks
Mhm.
out there. Actually, this was the next day at Eli's game, and it's this sweet couple that harvest coffee beans in Colombia. Like, they own the land there. They, I guess, hire the people there to harvest the coffee beans, and then for whatever reason, they're
Mhm.
here in Brock, and they were just the most precious couple. I didn't know what I wanted, and she was like, "Do you trust me?" And I looked down, and there's an open
Oh,
Jesus Calling book at the, like, base of their trailer, and I'm like, "100% I trust you." And she made me some
yeah.
fabulous drink that didn't have caffeine because it was past me, but that
I love
yeah,
it.
there's just a lot of, like, if you just look for the good, you know?
Yeah.
And
2 things when you're talking. The first one is hearing that you can't get season tickets for years seemingly sounds not great, but you would have never missed
ever.
them. And so that's exactly what we're here talking about. And secondly, lately, where you're saying that God just keeps placing soil on your mind, that for me lately is God keeps reminding me that stuff is not always about what do I need from
Mm,
you. Maybe sometimes it's what do you need from
mhm.
me. And so it's like you go to the game and you're like, we're new and we need interaction and we need to feel included and we need connection. And they came up and they were like, no, we need you. We need you. We need you tonight. And you're like, oh, we're for you. You're not, y'all are not for us. God sent us for y'all. And I think that sometimes when you can look at it, just like that
Absolutely.
Bob Goff quote,
Yeah.
if you can look at it from something
Yeah.
different, how
Yeah.
neat is
Well, it
that?
gives you purpose in a place where you maybe feel a little pain, you know?
Yeah, or if you go to lunch with a new friend and it doesn't go well, or you're trying to pour into a new relationship and maybe it's not everything that you wanted. Maybe there were a couple of those, baby red flags where you're like, and then you're like, hey, this didn't from you are not the sun and they are the
Right.
planet. Like, this is a relationship,
Absolutely.
and maybe you didn't have the finest time, but maybe they had the time that they
Right.
needed, you
Yeah.
know?
I think that's one
Maybe
of the
just like you were
things that we
saying.
learned, I think, because when we lived in McKinney, we hopped over from McKinney ISD to Prosper ISD the last 2 years
Okay.
that we lived there. And one of the things being the newbies that we, I think, learned, I guess, in the sports world more so, was like, you know, I had a tendency to jump all in, like, with
Yeah.
relationships, and it's like you
Yeah.
said, like, sometimes we just need to take a pause and, um, organically let things grow, like, that are in a
Sure.
more natural way, like, not everybody we meet
Mhm.
has to be our new best friends, like, we can take our time
Yeah.
to find quality
Yeah.
people and to find, like, who God
Mhm.
has in store for us, and there may be different categories, and along those lines too, one of the things that I think I've learned is, like, it's okay for friends to just be for seasons,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily have to be a breakup per se or a hard ending, like, sometimes friends and does it even I don't know, I mean, maybe it could be talked about or there doesn't have to be this ending, right? Like, we just moved away, so naturally, things are gonna dissolve, and that's okay
Yeah.
with a bunch of
Okay.
people, and, um, they
Yeah.
can just be for that season, and it's not that anybody did
Sure.
anything wrong,
No.
circling back
Mm-mm.
around to
That's
the,
just a
"Are
part.
you mad at me?"
Mhm.
That brings it all
Yep.
full
That's
circle.
that's just a part of life. It's funny when I get those missiles like, "Hey," you're just going along with your life and your mind's like, "They sure haven't called in a while. In fact, they didn't reply to your text last time. Do they hate you?" And my new thing for those random impulse, sudden thought, I told on one of my shows a few shows back, but I just go, cool, thanks. And it just makes that loop and we go on to
I
our
love
next thing.
that.
I don't get terrorized by it for the next couple of hours. I don't think on it. I don't need to go have a glass of wine to get rid of it. Cool, cool,
Yeah,
thanks. Thanks for that thought. That was
I love
lovely.
that.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
but yeah, and so now that I've used "Cool, thanks," and it goes because it shouldn't have ever come,
yeah.
so send it on its
Well, you're
way. There's
acknowledging the
no
thought. I know we
Mhm.
need to wrap this up, but I'm recently reading, this is also part of, like, filling that spiritual cup. Don't Give the Enemy a
Yeah.
Seat at Your Table by Lou Giglio, and it is phenomenal.
Yep.
Absolutely, and it really talks about how to take those thoughts captive, like, how and you just did that. It was a perfect example. It's like, "Oh, that thought popped in my head. Guess what? Um, I'm scripting an error, but like, okay, you know what? That doesn't deserve a spot in my head. I'm gonna let that go.
Mm-mm. No,
You're
thank
just
you.
capturing it,
Mhm.
releasing it. You're acknowledging it. It showed
Yep.
up, so there's no guilt or shame around it. We're just gonna acknowledge it, take it captive, and say,
Right.
yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah,
Great book.
it's been pretty life-changing to me just because I didn't think it would work. It didn't sound something that held a lot of water. It's too
Yeah,
short, it's too surface. There's not much connection in the sentence. But once I started using it and seeing how successful I was with it, it's just like the flexing of that tool. It's a good
yeah, I
one.
love that.
It's really saved me in this
Love it.
sentence. So I'll be in something pretty important with Jay, and it's like, "Hey, do you remember in 4th grade?" And you're like, "Wait." So now I just go, "Cool, thanks,"
Yeah,
and it just dissipates like a little
love
mist.
it.
But I think we are to the part of the show because I've had them wait the whole thing to hear your new
Oh
news.
goodness.
And the reason that you're here with me, and I'm so excited. I'll tell you more after she says her
Okay,
part.
so yeah, Step Family Day is next week, which is that right? Yeah, the 16th. So if we're not listening in the next week thing, September 16th is Step Family Day. And this little book and stuffy is about to be born. So Mallie's Two Homes and a Deer Named Darla is a new children's book that I've written and had illustrated that is so precious. And she comes with, so the book is about a little girl who's navigating life between two homes. And its setting really is in dad's house. Dad has remarried Kate. She's got a stepbrother, and life is just really different. And she's struggling with that. So her main question is like, if I love it here, does it mean I love mom less? And so it really helps navigate the fact that love grows, it doesn't take away. And her dad and stepmom in this book kind of help her navigate that. But it's a precious little book. And she
Oh,
has a stuffed deer named Darla that she takes with her to her mom and dad's. And I also have created a plushie um,
oh,
deer named
Summer.
Darla that can be purchased as a gift set for children. Probably like 12 and under, I would think. But the deer is just a sweet reminder for them that they can take between the two homes. And there's so many reasons why I wrote the book. First and foremost, it's to my little girl self, which I love. And I wrote it in poetry form, which is my basis. I used to write poetry when I was little to cope with hard feelings. So I
Mm,
kind of went back to those roots. But also, I do a lot of coaching with kids. And one of the things that I've bumped up, like a hurdle I've bumped up against, is if one parent or one home consents and the other home does not, like, what do you do with that, right? Because counseling, a lot of times the decrees say both parents have to consent. So this book is really an opportunity for whichever home is wanting help with connection. In the back of the book, there's about 3 pages with
mm,
questions to ask. So it could be a stepmom wanting to connect with a stepkid, or a dad, or anybody actually, parent, counselor, therapist, school counselor, teacher, anybody that has a little kiddo that's walking out this two life situation. Yeah, I kind of wrote it with them in mind too, because as they're reading it to the child, they can also get the perspective of the child. So it's kind of
that's
twofold.
nice.
Yeah. So it's a sweet little book coming out September 16th. It's really
Summer,
sweet.
September 16th. September 16th, where can
So
everyone
on
find
my
it?
website,
Okay.
www.blendedbookco.com. And if you go to the
Okay.
kids,
We'll put that in the notes.
yeah, the little kids, there's a kids tab on the website. Just click there and my whole shop will come up.
Uh-huh.
So,
Summer, congratulations. I had told you guys all about that we have Lore and actually Courtney
oh,
that
yeah,
introduced the two of us. She has been on the show, maybe the fourth or fifth episode. Thank the Lord that Courtney introduced us.
absolutely.
And when she did, I found Summer's book. Some of you listening probably received Summer's book from me. You can go on my Amazon and see how many times I just said, "What's your address?" and sent Summer's
You were
book.
on the launch team
I
for that, I think, actually, which was
I
five
was,
years ago.
but that wasn't even. I know that sounds like something a launch team leader does. It wasn't. It's such a good book.
Oh,
Just as the way I know Mallie Has Two Homes is going to be. I cannot wait to start
you're
sending
so
that
sweet.
one out. But Summer actually even has a workbook that goes with her book, Blended, and I'll butcher it, so
The
aligning.
Hierarchy of Heart and Home. So that, yeah, that's the adult version, adult workbook.
Mhm, the adult version workbook. I will send it to you. Let me know if you want it. I'll send it to you. And the opening line, I want to say, is that what got me? The opening line of the book, or is it the opening line of one of the chapters?
When I was driving down the tollway. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's
It's opening. So I go up to my loft. I've got her brand new, sparkly, beautiful book. It was white with black writing, just beautiful, gorgeous book. And I open it and I'm like, what's this about? And I start to read, and she tells the story of being on the highway and needing to pull over so that God could have her write down a idea that he was laying so strongly on her heart that she didn't want to lose it. Us creatives, if we don't write it down, it's
yeah.
gone. And God tends to trust us less if we don't get it written down. We don't get those moments as often. So we know how to be like good little. My grandpa used to carry a notebook in his pocket, and now I know why.
Oh,
And when you pulled over to the side of the road, God gave you what
yeah. So, he told me, "You are not raising these children," meaning my stepchildren, "so that they grow up and call you their mother. You are raising these children so they grow up and call me their father."
So when I was reading this, I read this, hadn't heard it, hadn't known about it, didn't know what I was getting into. And I read that sentence and I shut the book and I proceeded to have a guttural, visceral, I'm using these words dramatically and probably incorrectly, but you get what I'm saying. I went into a sobbing release of emotion that probably had been in there for way too long, probably 2 years. And my therapist had said, when you cry, cry harder.
Mm,
And then once you cry harder, I want you to cry a little bit harder. No need to be coached on how hard to cry on this one. It was something I had never even considered. It was the answer to all of the problems I had in that moment. It took all the weight off of everything I thought I needed to show them.
yes,
Like, this is how snazzy of a mom I can be to you.
100%.
See, you said love me. And it took that away. And it was like, all I need from you, and that's what I'd say is, it's not hard to convince someone of your truth because it's your truth and God is our truth. And so how hard is it? How how hard is it to convince my stepchildren that while I'm undone and coming unraveled and I'm in the most difficult situation I've ever been in, but at the same time, I need you to know that I really am a good mom. This just looks weird right now. I don't have to do
Yep,
that. All I have to do is tell you that the one that is saving me from my shit right
yep,
now, he's for
yeah,
you and he will be for
yeah,
you. And with him, nothing can be against you, even though right now it might feel like everything is against
yeah.
you. How easy was that for us to switch those gears and teach that to our
It's
children?
so
I thank
good.
you,
Oh,
Summer.
you're sweet.
Yeah,
It wasn't just
I
for
mean it.
me, I knew that. Yeah,
You saved, you saved us.
I think that for many years, I questioned God. Like, I didn't wanna be
Yeah,
called their mom, like, that part
yeah,
didn't make sense to me, right? But what
yeah,
he showed me
yeah.
was I definitely wanted to be their God, and
Yeah,
I'm not.
yeah, right? Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be fab? So, because I'm not, he just very gently,
Go and tell the
"Go and
others.
tell the others and put their hand in mine, because that's who it's about, right? Go tell everybody."
Right?
So,
Give them my email
yeah.
address. Yeah.
I love it. Well,
Yeah,
thank you
job
for reading that, and
responsibility.
thank you for being my friend and supporting, and living life out loud
Easy.
and being real and raw and
Yeah.
relatable, and I think that's why we just work. That's why we make it.
Summer, don't you come onto my podcast and
Sign
put
off. And I'm signing you
sweet
off.
things. Oh my god. No, you just came onto
No,
my
that's
podcast
the
and doted over
truth. That's
me.
the truth.
That is so nice. And I just do want to tell you, I always am for you, always have been for you, even when we're not talking on a regular basis. I'm
Well, I'm
here
hearing
and
you, and that's good for
well,
me,
good.
unfortunate for you.
Selfish, so
I'm
selfish.
just a taker.
My 2 best friends, I don't even know why they listen because I think I don't think they should. I think they're, like, in the fold, and I'm like, "Just call me if
Yeah.
you wanna know what's going on," and they're like, "No, we love it," and they think that I just created it for them, and I'm like, I did."
Absolutely. There's no reason why they
But,
don't need to believe that.
no, I'll always, be for you. I love you more than life. I've loved you from the first moment, and what I wanna say to you, wanna speak over to you is just thank you for being obedient and using your heart, like you said, to help heal others, through your first book, and I can't even fathom what this next book is gonna do for our littles,
Love it.
um, because we love them so darn much, and there's just so much that comes on us that what if any of our decisions has caused anything bad in their little hearts and minds and lives and experiences, and to write something that could pour back into their little hearts that have lost and to heal their little minds and bodies. I'm so excited about it. It's going to be
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Yeah. Well, thanks,
Thank
Summer,
you.
so much. Oh,
Yes,
Summer, tell everybody where they can
you
find
can.
you. I know you said your
Yeah.
website.
So find and follow all the socials at Blended Book Co. And then the
Okay.
website's blendedbookco.com.
Okay. Thanks, Summer, so much.
Bye.